This was the final international Smackdown before the European tour wraps up next week. Finally, they were in London, and they were very lively and energetic in London tonight, as I'm sure they will be for Raw this Monday. The big segment tonight, the big close to Smackdown, was the contract signing. It was Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins officially signing the contract for their triple threat match of WrestleMania. And what we had here in this segment was CM Punk overcome with emotion as he was looking through the contract. He was looking for the clause, for the fine print. This is what he talked about on Raw Monday night in Glasgow. He said he was going to pay very close attention to what was in the contract to see if he was going to get what he wants or if management was going to pull the rug out from under him again. And he got what he wanted, and what he wanted was to be in the main event of WrestleMania. This was the story for so many years. CM Punk never got his WrestleMania main event, even though now he's a lot older. Doesn't really care whether or not he's in the main event, but they've turned it into a story where he's got to be in the WrestleMania main event. And so it was Paul Heyman who knelt down beside him and told him that you got what you wanted. And he had tears in his eyes. CM Punk had tears in his eyes, as Paul Heyman did. And it was this big emotional thing. And Roman Reigns is just lounging back in his chair, big smile on his face. You can thank me for that. You can thank, of course, CM Punk can thank Roman Reigns for that because Roman Reigns is in the WrestleMania main event every year. In fact, now that it's official, Roman Reigns is about, now he already set the record last year, but now that Roman Reigns is going to be in yet another WrestleMania main event this year, this will be his 10th. He had already beaten Hogan like a couple of years ago. Now he's going to have his 10th WrestleMania main event. So he wanted CM Punk to acknowledge him and to thank him. And he did until we had the big bomb dropped in the closing moments of the show, the big cliffhanger at the end where CM Punk said, "But that's not the favor I'm owed." And that is how they went off the air. And so now the question remains, what is this favor that Paul Heyman owes CM Punk? Because we still don't know what the favor is going to be. I have a theory about what the favor is going to be. And it might be very similar to what you think the favor is. I have a theory about the favor and exactly when we will find out what that favor is. And I'll save that for later in the stream. But that was the big main event segment on this show tonight. We also found out for sure that Rey Fenix is coming into WWE. We got a face, we got a name on the screen, and he is making his official debut on SmackDown in Chicago next Friday. So there's no more wondering, there's no more ambiguity about who's that man in the vignettes that we've been seeing on TV. Now we know it is going to be Rey Fenix on SmackDown, Penta on Raw, so they're keeping them separate. And it does make me wonder, though, what his WrestleMania match, if any, is going to be, because if he's not going to be on the WrestleMania card, why even bother debuting him now instead of waiting until after WrestleMania? But, I was thinking maybe something with Grande Americano, and Grande Americano is on Monday Night Raw, although that never stopped them from mixing between the brands before. So if it's not going to be that, I'm not sure what it's going to be. But if he's debuting in Chicago next week, then it would make sense for him to have a match on the WrestleMania card. On the whole, this episode of SmackDown, it was better than last week's show. That show set the bar very low. That show sucked last week. So, that's not really saying much. This is a show that was carried by the talking segments. We had an opening segment that was better than your average WWE talking segment involving Cody and Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. That actually set up some potential directions for, post-WrestleMania coming down the road. That opened the show, and the contract signing closed the show, and those were the two best parts of the show. Which is not ideal when you have a wrestling show. And it's the two talking segments that carry the entire 3 hours. Because remember, SmackDown is the longest show of the week. But the wrestling that we got on the show was pretty average stuff. It's nothing that I would tell you to go out of your way to see. The other news coming out of the show, because there was a little bit of other news tied into WrestleMania weekend and the Hall of Fame. And the news that broke tonight is that WWE is now inducting matches into the Hall of Fame, what they are calling Immortal Moments. That's the name that they're giving them. And to me, I mean, that's your UFC influence right there. TKO, UFC. UFC's been inducting fights into their Hall of Fame now for at least a few years. And so now WWE is going to be doing the same. And the first match that is being inducted into the Hall of Fame is absolutely one of the greatest matches, not only in WrestleMania history. And if you said that it was the greatest WrestleMania match of all time, I would not argue with you. It is absolutely one of the greatest matches of all time. And it is the submission match between Bret the Hitman Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13. And, there's been a lot of talk lately about Ken Shamrock being discussed internally for a potential WWE Hall of Fame induction. I'm wondering if it's less so that he's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame on his own this year and more a matter of him maybe if these matches are getting formal inductions. Because they did make it very clear, Bret Hart and Steve Austin, they're going to be there. They're going to be in Las Vegas. They're going to be at the Hall of Fame ceremony. I don't know if they're both going to come up on stage, if they're going to get a plaque or something for it. But if they do, it would kind of make sense that Shamrock be the one to do the induction. Shamrock was the special referee. He was a part of that match at WrestleMania. So that was officially announced tonight on the show. Absolutely deserved. Without Bret Hart, and Stone Cold said it in the video package, without Bret Hart, there very likely is no Stone Cold Steve Austin. I cannot impress upon you how important that entire feud, how important that entire program was in the career of Steve Austin. Everybody talks about the Austin 316 speech at the King of the Ring in 1996. And obviously that's a moment that people look back on now. It's this iconic moment. In the moment, that's all it was. It was just a moment. And a lot of people forget about that. It's not as if it was the launching pad that sent him into the stratosphere. The very next pay-per-view was in July. I don't even remember if Austin was on the show. He may have wrestled Mark Merrow. But SummerSlam, 2 months later, he was on the fucking pre-show wrestling Yokozuna. It was the feud with Bret Hart. It was when he started name-dropping Bret, who was away. He had been gone for months after WrestleMania that year. And he was calling him out. And so when Bret came back, they had that great match at Madison Square Garden at Survivor Series. And they had an off and on feud really for the next several months until the submission match at WrestleMania and the big double turn. The greatest double turn of all time. So clearly they're not going in order. If you wanted to go in order, you could pick matches from the 70s. You could pick, some early WrestleMania matches. Hogan Andre would have made sense. Savage Steamboat. I'm sure those matches will make their way in at some point. But man, you want to go with a strong contender for one of the greatest matches in the history of this company and one of the most important, not just a great match, but one of the most important matches in the history of that company. I challenge you to find too many that are more special than that one. So, and with that, I have to point this out. With that, my GOAT, Bret Hart, becomes the first ever 3-time WWE Hall of Fame inductee. It just feels right. This is your Friday Night SmackDown review, a little bit earlier than usual because I used my trusty VPN as I did last week. And I got to watch SmackDown early. And if you're smart like me, you would have done the same thing. And so we get to talk about this show a little bit earlier than usual. I'm actually going to miss this, to be honest with you. I'm going to miss the slightly earlier SmackDowns. Hit that like button if you have not already done so. Super chats are open. And if any come in, I will be reading them. We had some come in earlier. And hopefully if we hit our goals tonight, we'll be able to do some Be the Booker a little bit later on in the stream. Let's get to the beginning of the show here and how things kicked off, because it kicked off with the WWE champion, Cody Rhodes, coming out. Oh, thank you, Quizzical One. See, Quizzical One, very kind to put up the ExpressVPN link for anybody who wants to partake. 4 months free with a subscription. Hey, look, they got another European tour coming up in August, so we're going to be going through this all over again. I'm just saying. So it would be smart to get in on that. But they open with Cody Rhodes out to the ring in his warm-up jacket to address the fans here in London. And they sang Cody's music even after it ended. All these European crowds have been great on this tour. They've been in Brussels, and they were in Bologna, and they were in Glasgow. Tonight and on Monday, they're going to be in London, which is always a hot crowd. So they sing their songs and they have their chants. And honestly, in the absence of that type of reaction that we've been getting from the fans, these shows would be even worse. So at least the fans, in some ways, have been able to kind of sort of salvage even the worst of these shows that we've had over the last few weeks. But Cody said that he will face John Cena at WrestleMania 41. I had no idea. I'm glad he told us. Crowd booed the mention of John Cena's name. Cody noted that Cena will be trying to break the record for most world title wins with 17, but that's WrestleMania. He'll be standing in the ring with Cena in just a few days in this same building. It's going to be on Raw this Monday night. Possibly John Cena's final appearance before WrestleMania, which would be ridiculous. Randy Orton's theme played, and the fans sang along with Orton's song as he made his way to the ring. And I thought, boy, this is interesting. We have Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes in the ring together. Why? Why are we getting Orton and Cody now? Are they trying to tease something out for post-WrestleMania in the immediate aftermath of WrestleMania, the backlash of WrestleMania? So Orton looked at Cody and said, "Look at you." He didn't say it quite like The Rock did last year, where, The Rock came out, "Look at you now." I wish I still had that soundbite queued up. But he said, "Look at you. Look at the man that you are now. Look at where you came from." Orton said that he remembered when Cody broke into the business and he worked as hard and usually harder than everybody else. Orton said Cody was not happy and he needed to grow outside the business. He said it took some big-ass balls for Cody to leave this place, and he credited Cody with changing the industry and said that all the guys and girls in the back know it, and Cody knows how much he appreciates it. And Cody had tears in his eyes listening to this. It was a very emotional night for Cody and for CM Punk on this show. So there were fans continuing to sing Cody's name. Orton told them that he would sing along with them, but they all might leave. So he asked the crowd if they remembered when Cody faced Seth Rollins inside Hell in a Cell. He said Cody started the match with a partially torn pec. He finished the match with a fully torn pec. Orton said Cody sucked it up and worked through the pain for the fans and then went on to finish his story at WrestleMania 40. Orton said there's always another story. And he said that ticket sales are up, not for WrestleMania this year, apparently. This is actually on track right now if you don't count the empty arena WrestleMania, which was 36, or 37, which had limited attendance. I think it was like 25,000 is what they allowed into the building. This will end up being the lowest attended WrestleMania in many, many years. And you could chalk that up almost entirely to the ticket prices, which, especially in Las Vegas, are just out of control. But he credited Cody with all the great ticket sales and all the gate records and everything, and said it was 99.9% due to Cody. Orton put his arm around Cody and told him that he respects him, very proud of him. But it's time for WrestleMania. And Orton got excited while talking about how hard he would kick Kevin Owens in the head. Orton said he knows that Cody will walk out of WrestleMania as the champion, but not before he beats up John Cena up and down the Vegas Strip. He said there will come a time where he wants to go after his 15th World Championship, and he won't kick Cody in the balls like a coward. He said that he sees Cody as an equal, and then he conceded that Cody has surpassed him in terms of some of the things that he's accomplished. And Orton said that he will look him in the eye and tell him that he is coming for the championship. So this brings out Drew McIntyre. His theme plays, he walks out on stage. "Isn't this wonderful?" he said. "A couple of Nepo babies having a love fest in the middle of the ring. It makes me absolutely sick." And McIntyre started walking towards the ring. He was telling Orton to get to the back of the line. He said Cody should have listened to him about John Cena. And McIntyre said the WrestleMania main event should be him against Cody, but it's not because of that eyeliner-wearing Temu Undertaker, Damian Priest. I mean, at least he didn't say what Rhea Ripley usually says, bisexual Undertaker. I don't know if she started it or just got in on the trend, but now he's Temu Undertaker, according to Drew McIntyre. McIntyre said that he would take the title from Cody. And at this point, he got into the ring. He said he always tells the truth. He said Orton looks great on the outside, But he knows that Orton's back is hanging by a thread. He would break Orton's back if provoked. McIntyre started to address Cody. Cody kicked him. He dropped down. He did the uppercut thrust that he does. Orton went for an RKO on McIntyre, but he slipped out and he got out of the ring. I like the segment. Orton really put Cody over in a strong way, in a way that he usually doesn't put just anybody over. And you can believe that it's genuine because he really has. He has seen Cody grow up in this business. He has seen Cody grow up in this company. They've worked together before. We know of the history between them. It's one of the reasons why I and a lot of people are looking forward to the eventual program between them. There's a lot of history there. So he's speaking as someone who now is the elder statesman in this company, but somebody who clearly has been around Cody and has watched him grow and mature over the years. And he really did. He put him over in a strong way here. And I like how this segment here, it set up a couple, maybe even more than a couple, of different potential directions that they can go in coming out of WrestleMania. But we finally had Orton making it very clear that he is coming after title number 15. We don't know when, but he told Cody, when the time comes, I'm not going to kick you in the balls like a coward. Of course, he didn't tell him, I'm not going to hit you with an RKO. He just said, I'm not going to kick you in the balls like John Cena did, but I'm going to tell you to your face. And I mean, all the times last year that I pointed out, they were in a backstage segment. They were in the hallway. They were in the ring. And you would see Orton gawking at the championship, right? He couldn't take his eyes off it. It's like they were leaving like a trail of breadcrumbs for us, even going back a year. This is something that Randy Orton has had his eyes on for a very long time. They've just been waiting and waiting and waiting, and it's just a question of when. It's not a matter of if. We know these two are going to have not even just a match. They're going to have a program. They're going to have a feud at some point. Is Orton going to be a heel? Is it going to be babyface against babyface? I would think that Orton would be heel for it, but we don't know. And then it's just really a matter of the timing of it. But we have this pay-per-view coming up on May 10th called Backlash, which just so happens to be in St. Louis. And it's a few weeks after WrestleMania. It almost felt to me like they were telegraphing a Cody win or telegraphing a Randy Orton win more than a Cody. You know what? More than a Cody win. They were telegraphing a Randy Orton win. I just don't envision a scenario where Kevin Owens has a prayer at WrestleMania. I really don't. He took Randy Orton out for 4 months. Orton is still in the process of trying to get his revenge on this man who took him out for months. And then you find out that the very next PLE is a few weeks later and it's in Randy Orton's hometown. He'll probably end up being in the main event. Very good chance he may end up challenging for his 15th World Championship. You think he's going to go into that match at WrestleMania and lose to Kevin Owens? Think Kevin Owens is going to get out of WrestleMania without getting punted in the head? So this to me is telegraphed it even more. But I'll tell you what, as I sit here right now, I am more invested in Cody Rhodes against Randy Orton than I am Cody Rhodes against John Cena, just based on what they've done so far. John Cena is not feuding with Cody Rhodes so much as he is feuding with the fans. This is exactly what I said on Monday night. Everything that John Cena has said on the microphone so far in these last 2 weeks has been a message to the fans, how they've wronged him, how they've taken advantage of him, how they've abused him and taken him for granted. And now his mission is to throw it right back in their face. I'm going to ruin wrestling. Not just for everybody in the wrestlers, but for all of you specifically. I'm going to win that championship and I'm going to take it home and I'm going to retire. And I'm going to be the last real world champion. But it's all about the fans and throwing it back at them. And that's fine, but I'm still waiting for the actual feud between Cody and Cena to kick into second gear, which I'm hopeful they'll do any week now, right? They're going to be in London on Monday. I don't know when the next time is that we're going to see John Cena. It may not be until Las Vegas. They don't have a lot of time left to really heat this thing up, I think, in the way it needs to be heated up. The idea of Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, there's a history there. And I look at that and I say, you know what? I find myself more excited for that than I do Cody and John Cena. And that could change. I hope it does. Still got a few weeks left to go. I hope that changes, but that's not the way that I'm feeling right now. They could have Orton challenge either of them for the championship in St. Louis. It could be Cody. It could be John Cena. It works either way. Either way, I see him in the main event on that show. I mean, how could he not be? We had the Street Profits defending the WWE Tag Team Titles against Pretty Deadly. They saved the Pretty Deadly title match that they earned many weeks ago for London to maximize their reaction. Kit Wilson is from London. Elton Prince is from Grays, Essex. I didn't mention this before, but they did put him on screen here and mention the fact that they have a new ring announcer here on SmackDown. Lillian Garcia, she says when she was initially brought in, they were very clear with her that this is not a permanent solution. Samantha Irvin left. We needed somebody to fill her role until we find somebody on a permanent basis. She said, sure. Whatever you need me for. So Lillian has been the ring announcer now for the last several months, and she will continue to ring announce on Saturday night's main event, but they have a new announcer. It is somebody brand new, probably a Nick Khan guy, that they hired out of Las Vegas. His WWE name is Mark Nash. I did not write down his real last name, but Nash is not his real name. But that is his WWE name. He is the official replacement now on SmackDown, the new ring announcer on Friday nights. He's worked with the Las Vegas Raiders of the NHL, Top Rank Boxing. So if you watch Top Rank fights on ESPN, you've probably heard his voice before. I thought he did a fine job. It's his first week. It sounded a little weird. It'll take a little getting used to. This something about his voice that did remind me a little bit of Mike Rome, who I thought maybe they would call him up from NXT and put him back on SmackDown. They didn't do that. But as far as his first night in, he was very loud and very animated with his match announcements. I think he'll fit in well. But again, it's just one night. For the one night, I thought he did a good job. Pretty Deadly hit their spilt milk neckbreaker on Angelo Dawkins. Kit Wilson had him pinned until Ford broke up the pin attempt. Prince sent Ford to ringside, and Dawkins, he avoided a codebreaker attempt. He put Kit Wilson on his shoulders, and the fans booed as Montez went up top. They hit their doomsday blockbuster, and Ford covered Kit Wilson for the 3 count. This did not last very long. This big tag team title match here that Pretty Deadly's been waiting for now for several weeks didn't even go 10 minutes. And it was a fairly, basic match, but they gave Pretty Deadly some hope spots here where the crowd really bought into the idea that maybe they would win. There was one in particular, and it might have been after the spilt milk, where it was a good near fall. It was a good near fall. I didn't really buy into it, but the crowd did. They kind of bid on it. But then in the end, I don't know that anybody honestly expected a title change here. This was their first title defense. They had a match last week. That was not a title match. This was their first title defense. They were not dropping the belts to Pretty Deadly in their first title defense. But because they were in London, the fans were hot for, the key spots here. And they were hoping to get a title change, but it did not come. We had Caden Carter and Katana Chance against Chelsea Green's Secret Service crew, or as she is calling it, her Secret Hervis. That's what they said. Alba Fire and Piper Niven. Late in the match, Carter and Chance, they were setting up for their finish on Piper when Chelsea jumped up on the apron, and she's bickering with the referee. Katana drops down from the rope. She goes to argue with Chelsea. Niven shoves Carter into Chance, and then hit the Piper driver on Carter for the win. After the match, the heels are putting the boots to the baby faces. Here comes Zelina Vega. She runs out. She roughed up Niven. She roughed up Alba Fire. Chelsea hit Vega with a shot from behind, and Vega was able to stuff an unprettier attempt. She set up for a code red. Alba, though, caught her with a super kick, and then Piper followed up with a senton splash. I guess, Zelina Vega, she forgot her manager's license, I guess, because, we had the Secret Hervis out there, and Chelsea was out there. They were all out there. Where was Zelina? Why wouldn't Zelina be in the babyface corner? Looking out for Carter and Chance. I don't know. Back in the day, you needed a manager's license. I guess these days anybody can just come out, but Zelina chose not to. But if the goal here was to get me interested in seeing Chelsea Green defend the United States title against Zelina Vega, it didn't work. They didn't do a very good job of that here with this segment. Let's move on to a different United States championship, because where there's one, there's usually another. We have LA Knight. He defended the U.S. title on this show against Braun Strowman.
I am the legend.
Shut the fuck up. With a cameo by Chris Jericho. Fuck that tree. Always has to make a cameo. Thank you very much, Chris. Was that Chris or Holiday? I think it was Holiday. Holiday 197. Thank you very much. Both men were trading strikes late in the match until Strowman got taken over with a German suplex by Knight. It was very impressive. Knight hits an elbow, only for a 2 count, gets back to his feet. He's looking for the BFT. Strowman, though, fights it off. He sends the champ out to the floor. So we are about to get the Strowman Express. And here he comes, and he's coming around the bend. Unfortunately, the train never made it to its destination, because as he was circling and rounding the corner, he got wiped out by Jacob Fatu, who appeared from out of nowhere. The referee called for the disqualification. Fatu brings Strowman back into the ring, and he's interrupted by LA Knight, but the champion immediately is sent back outside. Fatu charges in at Strowman with a running hip attack. He brings him to the middle of the ring, and he hits the mighty moonsault. And the crowd is chanting one more time because, again, they're so concerned about Braun Strowman. So they chant one more time, and he obliges. And Jacob goes up. He hits a second mighty moonsault before leaving. So let's stop here for a second. The match itself was pretty much what I expected it to be, which was just the setup for what I figured would be bloodline interference. We got Jacob Fatu. There was no Solo Sikoa. There was no Tama Tonga yet. But we did get Jacob doing the predictable run-in in this match. But later in the back, Fatu was walking when Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga walked up to him. Solo was very upset about Fatu going out there and doing what he did all by himself and not telling them. And Fatu said, I don't need to tell anybody anything. And Solo told him, you better lower your tone when you're talking to me and Tama. So Fatu calmed down a little bit, and he told them that he's going to be the last man standing when it comes to his feud with Braun Strowman. And Fatu said that he would bring the U.S. title back to the family, and he added that he would do it with them. And he looked at Tama Tonga when he said that. And then he looked at Solo Sikoa, and he said, or without them. And he walked off. Nothing was officially announced. I mean, it sounds like we're getting a last man standing match on TV between Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu. You know, last week I said this really is looking like either a 3-way or a 4-way match for the United States Championship. Here I could see Solo, getting involved maybe in some way, but I could see the last man standing match itself happening on TV. Jacob wins, and we get a one-on-one. We get a one-on-one instead of multi-man mania at this WrestleMania, which feels like we already have that. We get a one-on-one U.S. title match. We get LA Knight. We get Jacob Fatu. And you could do whatever you want to do there as far as having Solo Sikoa get involved in Tama Tonga, and it backfires, right? Jacob Fatu, he only loses because of bloodline interference that does not work out to his advantage. That will then help get you to where you are going with Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. And there's your backlash match. See, that's what makes sense to me. Absolutely, though, I could see them wanting to have everybody involved, and we get a fatal 4-way, or we get a triple threat match. If they want to get Solo Sikoa in the match, they can get him in the match. There's no need for him to be involved in the actual match, whatever match it ends up being. But I say, get this last man standing match done on TV. You have Solo Sikoa. I keep saying Solo. You have Jacob Fatu, because they're so much alike. You have Jacob Fatu win, and do it one-on-one. Let him earn a United States Championship match at WrestleMania. Shoot the angle with the bloodline there. Keep the belt on LA Knight, and just go from there. And what Braun Strowman does, I don't know. Throw him in the Andre Battle Royal on SmackDown. But not, all these matches have to be multi-man mania. I was just talking about the Intercontinental title on Monday night and what looks like we may be getting there, which is a fatal 4-way. Right? I mean, it looks like we're looking at Braun Breaker and Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio and Penta potentially being involved in that as well, because certainly he got screwed out of the championship in that main event on Monday night. How many multi-person matches do we need at WrestleMania this year? That's why I said a few weeks ago, I said the way things are shaping up, and this is before anything was officially announced, I'm like, this is giving me WrestleMania 2000 vibes here. Almost every single match on that show was some sort of multi-person match, except I think one. I think there may have been a match between the Cat and Terry Runnels, and that's about it. Like everything else was multi-person matches. By the way, speaking of which, if you missed it on the WWE Vault channel on YouTube, this morning they uploaded a 30-minute behind-the-scenes video from WrestleMania 2000. Really from that weekend, not just the event itself. And it's pretty cool stuff. So if you didn't see it, put that on your watch list and go check it out. Yeah, they have footage there from like fan access, and as some of the wrestlers are coming in to sign, and then they're like interviewing them. It's interesting seeing Undertaker there, and he's doing a signing, and he's dressed up he looks like the American Badass, but this is like 2 or 3 months before the American Badass even debuted on TV. Austin was there. Obviously, he wasn't wrestling because he had neck surgery. And then they're showing, and this is what maybe fascinated me more than anything else. They're interviewing different crew members. And one of the crew members, like in the arena that they're interviewing, is a young Stu, the cameraman. And I hadn't realized that Stu had been there for that long, because in the video, he says he'd been working there for like 5 or 6 years. And Stu is still there. And I didn't realize Stu is from Kentucky. He's a big Kentucky sports fan. So he's into basketball. He's into horse racing. He goes, but I like this job. That's why I do it. I could work anywhere. I could do NFL stuff. I could work NBA, horse racing, but I do this because I like it. I hope they like me. I would say that, what is it, 2025? I would say I think they're pretty happy with Stu the cameraman. Although I'm still waiting for John Cena to really fully go heel and beat the fuck out of Stu. I don't know. It doesn't feel to me like John may be fully committed to this heel turn, so I don't know that we're going to get that. They replayed Jimmy Uso slapping the shit out of Gunther on Raw Monday night. And then here live, Jackie Redmond is interviewing Jimmy in the back. He said that he would do it again and keep on smacking him if he needs to. His brother is all up in his head. Says Jay will go to WrestleMania. He will bust Gunther's ass to become the new world heavyweight champion. Jimmy showed more personality in this one promo than Jay has in the last month. I'm just saying. So Jimmy walked off and the camera followed him and he ran into The Miz and Carmelo Hayes. And so this is what they have Carmelo Hayes doing, by the way. He is officially now tied to The Miz. Because every segment that he's in on this show now, he's involved with Miz in some way. Because that means they don't know what to do with him. So we'll just stick him with The Miz. Miz mocked Jimmy for being the other Uso. He also told him that if he ever tried to slap him like that, Jimmy would still be on the ground. So Jimmy made a motion like he was about to smack him, and Miz covered up. Jimmy said he's facing Gunther on Raw Monday night, but he's going to go talk to Nick Aldis about a match with The Miz tonight. Oh, joy. I can't wait. Then we got something else that was actually very good. And I would say outside of the opening and the closing segments, this was the next best thing on the show. Another talking segment. See, I wasn't joking at the beginning when I said this show was carried by segments that had nothing to do with actual wrestling in the ring. It was all of the talking segments. We had a video package with Naomi, and she spoke about all of the sacrifices that she has made and said that it really breaks her heart that she's been made the bad one in this situation. This entire situation with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, that she is the bad one of the bunch. And she all of a sudden had tears streaming down her face. A lot of emotion on this show. You got Cody Rhodes is tearing up in the opening segment. Naomi is tearing up here. CM Punk was tearing up in the closing segment. A lot of weeks watching this SmackDown show, I'm sitting here tearing up, although for very different reasons. So the tears are coming down her cheeks. And she questions how Jade Cargill was able to take her place. How did this happen? She asked Bianca Belair who inspired her and always had her back since she arrived on day one. Naomi said that it wasn't Jade. She said she's done being a third wheel and being undervalued. She told Jade to proceed with caution if she continues to get in her way. And I should point out here, speaking of caution, Naomi was wearing a yellow top with a caution tape design on it. Apparently she was wearing either this or something similar last week, and I must have been seeing right through her because I didn't even notice it until somebody mentioned it to me the other day. I think on TNT, actually. I said, I didn't even notice what she was wearing last week. But yeah, she was wearing the caution tape thing, and I'll just say she wears it better than Owen Hart did. She definitely does. I thought this was a strong performance from her. I thought that they were playing like this really kind of creepy, almost spooky music in the background as she was speaking, just to kind of add to the vibe of it. But this right here, this was the best thing they've done, honestly, with Naomi since she went heel a few weeks ago. I thought this was very good. I thought this was a very strong showing from her here in this segment. She didn't say a lot, but what they gave us here I thought was good. It's something to build on. Now, when it was over, Jade was in the back, and she asked Nick Aldis where Naomi was. Aldis said that he hadn't seen her all day, and as far as he knew, she wasn't there. He's the general manager of the show, so I'm not sure why he wouldn't know whether or not she was booked or whether or not she was there that night, but he said, I don't know. As far as I know, she's not here. Jade said that it would be on site when she catches her. And then Jade walks off. She comes across B-Fab and Michin, who encouraged her to do what you need to do to Naomi. And Jade said, oh, I will. Speaking of spooky, we had another spooky vignette. And I will put this image on screen for you because this right here, this series of images, is what we saw here in this vignette. We see this mysterious figure. We can't make out who it is. You can see the silhouette. Got a brief shot of a snake. See the Roman numerals there. The Roman numeral 4, the Roman numeral for 25. We hear a voiceover. It's distorted, but the voiceover here sounds a little bit like this.
As I am, you will be.
Without the laugh. But that's what the person was saying. As I am, you will be. Can be heard very faintly in the background. But very interesting to see those Roman numerals there. Now, if you look at the 4 and you look at the 25, you might think April 25th, which happens to be a Friday. Not only a Friday, but it's the Friday immediately after WrestleMania. Doesn't mean that that's the date, though. It could be April of 2025, which is coming up next week, which means it literally could be any week that this person is going to appear. So don't just assume it means April 25th. It could just be April of 2025. But clearly this is setting up for the return of one Aleister Black. No name was mentioned. No other information was given. But just look at that image on the bottom. Who else would that be? Come on. I mean, if you saw him and the way he was all dressed up in the House of Black in AEW, pretty safe bet that it's Aleister Black. They just weren't as overt about it as they were with Rey Fenix later in the show. Now, Michin and B-Fab, they made their way out to the ring. And they're in the ring and they're posing for the crowd. Naomi gets into the ring and attacks them from behind. Joe Tessitore notes that Michin and B-Fab, they had just been showing some support in the back for Jade, which presumably is why Naomi is going after them. So Naomi continued to work them both over at ringside, over by the announce desk. We hear Jade's music. Jade Cargill comes running out. Wade Barrett noted that she was out there dressed like Uma Thurman from Kill Bill, which she was. Naomi runs off into the crowd, so she escapes. Jade was then helping an injured B-Fab. I didn't even see how she got injured, but B-Fab was, feigning an injury. And then she's being helped to the back by Jade, and they start playing Charlotte's music, because the match coming up is Charlotte against Michin. Charlotte Flair walks out, and there's a brief moment here where she and Charlotte have a little bit of a stare down. It's very brief. And then Charlotte continues on down to the ring where Michin was down, and the referee is checking on her, making sure, are you okay? Can you wrestle? I guess she must have said yes because the referee called for the bell, and so we were underway. Flair dropped Michin with a big boot, immediately after the opening bell, got a near fall. That would have been funny. She would have pinned her right there on the spot. But the match continued, and Flair went up top. Meechin cut her off and hit a sit-out powerbomb for a near fall. Meechin hit Eat Defeat a little while later, had the pin. Flair, though, got those long legs, and she placed her foot on the bottom rope to break the pin. Flair rolled to ringside. Meechin followed her, and she threw a kick that Charlotte ducked or was able to avoid, which caused Meechin to kick the ring steps instead. So now she's selling a foot injury, and she's limping up to the apron. And Charlotte is able to clip her leg. She works over Meechin's leg in the ring and then applies the figure eight, and Meechin submits. So Charlotte picks up the win. This is where the crowd died. That's the best way that I could describe it. This was death, is what this was. No heat for any of this. These people did not care at all. And backstage after this, Tiffany, and they were chanting for Tiffany. They're chanting Tiffy or Tiffy time, but Tiffany didn't come out. Instead, Tiffany showed up immediately after this. They cut backstage, and she's in the back with Jackie Redmond, who notes that Charlotte went at Stratton pretty hard last week when they had that split-screen interview. And Stratton said that Flair is so insecure that she can't let a rookie get a word out. Stratton said that she's not the one with something to lose here. She said that if she loses at WrestleMania, well, then she's just a rookie who lost to a legend. Right? She's only been on SmackDown for about a year now. But she said that if Flair loses, then Charlotte loses to, as Charlotte put it, an undeserving, delusional, unoriginal, backflip-doing little girl. Stratton said that she can't wait to see the look on Flair's face when she hears the words, "and still." The good news here is that I actually thought Tiffany sounded more like a normal human being than any other promo I've heard her cut since she got called up to the main roster. So many of her promos, they missed the mark. She hasn't evolved her style in any way. She's considered a babyface now, but cutting the same types of these sort of like Valley Girl promos, and even the way she cuts them sometimes, it can be very awkward. But this one, I thought, especially coming off the shellacking that she took in that segment where it was almost like she was ambushed last week. And then there was a report that came out that said Charlotte had a heads up on, at least some of the things that Tiffany was going to say. There was no indication in that report, though, about whether or not Tiffany knew what Charlotte was going to say. So it may well have been very one-sided. It came off that way on TV, and Charlotte just destroyed her last week and made her look terrible. So she needed something on this show. And I at least thought that with her delivery and everything, this was better than she has sounded in her promos in quite a while. So after this, we got Randy Orton against Drew McIntyre. And they ended up on the or at the ringside area outside early in the match. It ended with Orton doing his lift up and drop down. He dropped McIntyre on top of the announce desk. Later on in the match, Orton hit a draping DDT, and he was playing to the crowd. He struck the Viper's pose, and he was setting up for the RKO. Kevin Owens is shown standing in the aisleway.
So I want your soul.
Is that what it is?
I want your soul. JD, give me your soul. I want your soul. I want your soul. Give it to me.
Thank you, David Therian, with the $27 super chat. I didn't even know David was here. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that very much. So yes, Kevin Owens is suddenly visible in the aisleway. And Randy Orton, of course, he spots him. This distracts him long enough that when he turns around, he gets caught with a Claymore kick. And Drew McIntyre picks up the win. After the match, Owens pulled Orton out of the ring. He slammed his head on the announce desk. Owens climbed onto the table, and he set up for a pile driver, but Owens slipped out, and Owens ended up taking a bump. Actually, Owens was going for the pile driver, and Orton slipped out. Owens ends up taking a bump on the table, rolls to the floor. Orton sets up for a punt kick. Owens escapes over the barricade. He flees the scene. They were not going to beat either of these guys going into WrestleMania. Randy Orton's got a match coming up with Kevin Owens. Drew McIntyre has a match coming up with Damian Priest. right? I mean, two of the biggest stars in the company. They just kind of threw this match out there. It was announced at the beginning of the show. They were not going to beat either of these guys clean. You had to know that coming in. The best thing I could say about this, I mean, look, the action that we got here was maybe 6 or 7 minutes. It wasn't very long. It was fine. At least they didn't give us the cheap DQ finish or just throw the whole thing out. How many times have we seen that? It wasn't clean, but at least somebody went over, right? At least somebody got pinned here. That's the best thing I could say about this. And they continue to tease the punt kick. This is the story. This will continue to be the story going into Las Vegas. Orton is trying to kick this man's head clear off his shoulders. That is what he is trying to do. He is failing. He is not succeeding because they're saving it for WrestleMania. We'll get our big moment there. Until then, this is what we're going to get. We're going to get Kevin Owens sneaking away at the last minute, trying to avoid catastrophe until Randy Orton is finally able to do it. And when he does it, I really don't think we should be seeing Kevin Owens for a while. Yeah, Sami Zayn's taking a break right now. Kevin Owens needs to take a break for a while after he gets punted in the head. We haven't seen a real true punt kick in how many years? Now, you got to sell that shit. It's like the pile driver. Randy Orton was gone for 4 months. Kevin Owens doesn't have to be gone for 4 months, but when it happens, I suspect we're not going to see him for a while. Maybe he'll be back in time to be in Money in the Bank. So then we got one final Rey Fénix vignette. It was the same basic vignette that we've had over the last several weeks with the orange skies, the red skies, and you have the lightning bolts, and they show you little brief glimpses of who this guy is. You see the tattoos all over his body. You see he's wearing a mask. And then finally, at the end of the vignette here, they show you his face. And they flash a message on the screen that says, Rey Fénix, next week. So now it is official. Rey Fénix has arrived, and Rey Fénix is going to be on the SmackDown brand. He is coming to Friday nights, which is very interesting. On commentary after the announcers talked about his arrival next week, and Joe Tessitore made mention of the fact that, he's Penta's brother. So they're not shying away from that or pretending that the two of them are not related. He flat out mentioned it here. I was a little, not worried. Worried is not the right word. I was wondering if they were going to cut off the first part of his name. As stupid as it sounds, because we have Rey Mysterio. So do they want Rey Fénix? Is it going to be just Fénix? Which honestly, if he was just Fénix, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But he's actually keeping his name, it looks like. So that's good. And so we'll see what they have in store for him. I just find it hard to believe that they would call him up now, a few weeks before WrestleMania, if they had nothing for him on the WrestleMania card. Again, I just look at it and go, right now you are in full-blown promotion mode for WrestleMania. It's not really the ideal time to be debuting new faces on TV or calling up somebody new from NXT. At this point, late March, early April, you save that for right after WrestleMania. The Raw after Mania, the SmackDown after Mania. If they're going to do another stupid draft, which I hope they don't do, it probably would be in May. Save it for the draft. So the fact that he's debuting in Chicago next week would indicate to me they have some kind of plan for him on that WrestleMania show. We'll see what it is. We had Jimmy Uso, one-on-one against The Miz. I have nothing to say about this other than Jimmy won with an Uso splash. That's it. After the match was over, Jimmy went, he stood on top of the announce desk, and this is the best part of the whole thing. So he gets on top of the announce desk, and he goes to reach for Joe Tessitore's headset. And Joe Tessitore, he pulls his head back, like, no, don't touch my headset. He goes, here, there was one sitting on the desk. Here, use this one. So Jimmy takes the headset, puts it on his head, and he talked about how on Raw next Monday, he's going to demote Gunther from ring general to private. He's going to be Private Gunther. And he will salute Big Jim when the match is over. I can't wait to see Gunther destroy this man on Monday night. Really stick it to Jey Uso. Really try to bring out the right-hand man. Make him suffer. Make him watch his brother get destroyed on Monday night. Backstage, Drew McIntyre was shaking hands with singer Louis Capaldi, who they showed earlier in the night, and he got a big reaction from the fans in London. Told him that he was on his way to the pub. And they shook hands, and they went their separate ways. And Jackie Redmond showed up for an interview with McIntyre, who said that he wins when nobody gets involved in his business. So he got a little cocky. He said goodnight before heading through a door to the parking lot. But when the door opened, on the other side of the door was Damian Priest. And he attacked McIntyre. They had a brief scuffle. McIntyre got Priest up on top of a car. And Priest gouged his eye and then gave him a South of Heaven chokeslam onto the windshield of the car, which shattered the windshield. And so a bunch of producers rushed in, including Jamie Noble. I mean, the accent is unmistakable. And Priest told them, relax, I'm done for now. And he leaned down and he asked McIntyre if he had any more jokes. Any more jokes that you want to tell? Hey, Sidro, any more jokes? Yeah, be careful because he's going to put you through a windshield one of these days. And he says, rest in peace, jackass. And Priest made his exit as Drew McIntyre laid there on top of this car and did his best Stone Cold impression, heel Stone Cold, as he's holding his eye and he's moaning and complaining about having glass in his eye. The only thing that was missing here was him complaining like, I didn't do nothing to that man. I didn't do nothing to deserve this. That was one of the best parts of heel Austin that summer, honestly. When they had him strapped to that stretcher and they were wheeling him out, Undertaker had thrown him through a window in the back. And I think he had like an eye patch, maybe not an eye patch, like a bandage over his eye. Like, I can't see. I got glass in my eye. I didn't do nothing to that man. God. You know what? It may have been bad for business, but we did get some gems. We did get some gems during that Austin heel turn. Like it wasn't a total loss. So CM Punk, and actually this was great too. McIntyre is laying on top of this car and he's being tended to. At the same time, we see CM Punk, he is walking through the back and he is flanked by security. And Punk stops and he looks over at McIntyre laying on top of the car and being tended to, and he just goes, that's a shame. And he continues walking. And he was walking to head out to the ring, although he wasn't coming out right away, but he was on his way out for the closing segment of the show, which was the contract signing for the triple threat match at WrestleMania. With Roman Reigns. Now, which triple threat match? You probably need me to specify. I'm talking about Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. So Nick Aldis was in the ring and said that it was his privilege to be in the ring here in London. He said that he was there for the contract signing for, quote, the biggest triple threat match in the history of WrestleMania. Now let's think about this for a second. Would you consider this to be the biggest triple threat match in the history of WrestleMania? We had a triple threat match in the main event of WrestleMania 35 that was historic in that it was the first ever women's main event. Right? So, I mean, it will go down in history for that reason. I would hardly call that the biggest triple threat match in WrestleMania history. So it's a good question, actually, to think about. You know, if this would go down. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but if this legitimately would go down as the biggest triple threat match in the history of WrestleMania. I'll let you ponder that in the live chat. Roman Reigns made his entrance first with Paul Heyman, and the crowd sang Roman's name. Reigns took a seat at the head of the table, and he told the crowd that the way they sang to their tribal chief was beautiful. And Paul Heyman even started to sing along. He's singing the song as well. Something about Heyman's voice here as he was singing, I was probably the only one even thinking this, but something about his voice as he was singing reminded me of Al Bundy singing the Psycho Dad theme song on Married with Children. And I just laughed. So Reigns said that he's the biggest star on the planet, said he came to London to be acknowledged and to sign the contract. And he signed the contract and he said, well, it looked like we checked both boxes. So he was about to make his exit. That's it. Roman's done. His job is done for the night. See you in a few weeks. He was about to leave when he was interrupted by Seth Rollins' music. And Rollins came out to the ring, and he was dressed about as normal as I've probably seen him in years. He was wearing like a kind of like a red sport jacket. But by Seth Rollins standards, at least he wasn't out there dressed like an oven mitt. So he made his way down. Actually, see, somebody in the chat mentioned Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Benoit at WrestleMania 20. This match would have to really be quite great to top that one. Main event, 20th WrestleMania, World Heavyweight Championship, Madison Square Garden. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to top. But I was just thinking, outside of that one, though, I mean, we've had some great triple threat matches in WWE history, including one at the Royal Rumble involving Seth Rollins, in 2015. But not too many at WrestleMania. Like WrestleMania 20 is one that I think of. WWE really didn't do triple threats. They didn't do triple threat matches before like 1997, 98, right? Probably Attitude Era. So you're not going to find any at WrestleMania before that. And the ones that they may have had since then outside of like WrestleMania 20, I'm trying to think of ones that I would consider to be like real classics. There aren't that many. There really aren't. There was one at 24 in Orlando with John Cena, Triple H, and Randy Orton. That was good, but it wasn't anything great. There was another one with John Cena, Big Show, and Edge at 25. Which was supposed to be Hulk Hogan and John Cena that year, by the way. And then Hogan needed back surgery, so that's what they ended up doing with John Cena. Of course, WrestleMania 30. New Orleans. Randy Orton, Batista, Daniel Bryan. Yeah, I mean, this match has some big shoes to fill if it's going to be considered the biggest triple threat in WrestleMania history. Plus, keep in mind, like, those triple threat matches that I just mentioned were all contested for world championships. This one has no championship on the line. Actually, right now at this moment, there is nothing on the line. Although I think that might change. But there's nothing on the line in this match. See, Nick Aldis was in the ring. He was lying to us. He was lying. And of course, yes, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and Gunther. WrestleMania 39. Truly one of the best matches in WrestleMania history. It's not like in my top 3 or anything like that, but that's pretty fucking high up on the list too. Even though it wasn't for a world championship and it wasn't in the main event. I mean, that was pretty badass stuff between those 3. But if I had to put together like a top 10, I don't think I could. Top 5 maybe, top 3, yeah, I could do that. But top 10 triple threats, WrestleMania? Nah. I don't think there are that many great ones. Anyway, Rollins gets into the ring. And he said he didn't know why Roman was in such a hurry to leave. He mentioned that they had a lot of history in this building, and he recalled putting Undertaker through a table there. Rollins said that a lot had changed since then, but they accomplished their mission. Reigns took issue with Rollins saying we, and said they died a long time ago. He said it's been only him since then. He said he made this place better than he found it, and he made it attractive to Netflix. He helped make it $1 billion company. And he questioned, what have you done? Rollins said that Roman's biggest mistake is not recognizing the danger that's right in front of him. He said Reigns let the snake, CM Punk, into the garden. He said Reigns could have cut the head off the snake at War Games, but he shook his hand instead. Rollins said that he's left doing what he always does and that he has to clean up Roman's mess. And so Rollins signed the contract. Here comes CM Punk. And again, he's flanked by security behind him. He gets in the ring. He declares, I've come here to chew bubblegum and sign a contract. And I'm all out of bubblegum. He took a seat at the table. He started looking over the contract. Reigns asked if he needed a highlighter because Punk was taking his sweet time. He was reading the fine print. He was going page by page, which, by the way, everybody should do that. Don't ever sign a contract without knowing what you are signing. These guys are too quick to sign these contracts sometimes. Sometimes it comes back to bite them. So Roman is sitting there and says, "You need a highlighter or something?" He tells him, "Go to page 4, clause 5. And Punk's taking his time, and Reigns says, "Look, it's TV here." He tells Punk, "Hurry up, kid." Or he called him Junior, I think. So he asks Heyman, "Wise man, go smarten this guy up." So Heyman goes over, he kneels down beside CM Punk, and he says, "I know what you're looking for, and it's in there." Heyman told him, and he started choking up too as he was speaking, and Heyman tells him, "You're closing the show at WrestleMania. You get to live your dream of all dreams. CM Punk, you are going to be a WrestleMania main eventer." And again, may mean nothing, but he specifically said, "You are closing the show at WrestleMania," which could be taken so many different ways. You're going to close night 1. Does he know something the other people don't know? He said, "You are closing WrestleMania." Probably means nothing. So Heyman, he kissed Punk on the forehead. Heyman is all emotional. Punk is getting emotional. The fans are cheering. Punk, you can see Punk is tearing up. And Rollins, meanwhile, is seething. And he tells Punk, "Wipe the tears out of your eyes." And he screamed that you don't deserve it. Rollins said main eventing WrestleMania is sacred, and it means the world to him. You know, Rollins is another one. He talked about for several years about how he really wanted to have a WrestleMania main event. He doesn't consider the Money in the Bank cash-in in 2015 a real WrestleMania main event. And up until last year, he had never been in a proper show-closing match of WrestleMania. He wrestled for the World Championship against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 35. They opened the show, and they let the women close the show. Last year, night 1 in that tag team match was the first time that Seth Rollins got himself a WrestleMania main event. So here he's freaking out because now look, it's kind of weird because he's going to be in the WrestleMania main event on night 1 this year, but he hates CM Punk so much. He can't stomach the thought that he is going to live his dream. He's going to get that one thing. It's like his white whale, right? That one thing he's been chasing his entire career and he's never been able to achieve. And now he's going to get it, and it's driving this guy absolutely nuts. He's clearly very upset about this. I've never seen someone so upset before that he was, after being told that he is going to be in the WrestleMania main event. So the fans chanted for Punk. He stood up, he wiped the tears from his eyes, and Punk thanked the fans in London and in Chicago and in Louisville, right, which is where he came up when he was going through their developmental. And he said, as corny as it sounds, he thanks the WWE Universe. He thanked the fans who stood by him and chanted his name for 10 long years. So now the executive producer credits are rolling on the screen. Paul Levesque and Lee Fitting, because they're getting ready to go off the air here. But we're in the middle of this promo. And the segment is still going on. Reigns, he's just leaning back in his chair. He's got this big, cavalier look on his face. And he tells Punk, "You should be thanking your tribal chief." And he said that it's because of him that CM Punk is in the main event of WrestleMania. Reigns told Punk to close the show the right way by thanking him. And so Punk, he dropped to one knee, like he was going to propose to this man. And he said, "Thank you, my tribal chief. The holder of the Ulafala, the head of the table, the big dog?" Roman didn't look very amused by the big dog comment. Says, "Thank you for allowing a kid from Chicago to be graced by your presence." And Punk said, because of Roman, he will see him in the main event of WrestleMania. And Punk then signed the contract. Fans broke out into a chant of "You deserve it." By this point, the copyright box had been on screen and it was already off. So it's like they're not really in an overrun, but it feels like we're in overtime here. And long after the copyright box had vanished from the screen, Punk closes the show with the most important line of them all. He looks at Roman Reigns sitting in that chair, leans in, and he tells him, "But that's not the favor that I'm owed." And that's how they go off the air. That was one hell of a cliffhanger to close out this show. There will be a lot of online discourse. Let's address this first. There will be a lot of online discourse about whether or not the Night 1 main event can be considered the actual WrestleMania main event. And the way I look at it is, when you main event WrestleMania, you close the show. And so long as WrestleMania is 2 nights instead of 1, and yes, it's considered one singular WrestleMania. It's not WrestleMania 41A and WrestleMania 41B. It's night 1 and night 2, but it's still WrestleMania 41. That is true. But it's 2 individual events, which means you have 2 main events. That's a main event on night 1 and a main event on night 2. And especially with the prices that they are charging for this year's WrestleMania more than any other, you're going to have a lot of people going to this show who are not able to afford going to both nights. You're either going to go to night 1 or night 2, but you're going to have to pick and choose. Not everybody is going to be able to afford to go to both nights of WrestleMania in Las Vegas. So if you're paying for a ticket to go to WrestleMania, you pay $300, let's say. That's probably one of the cheaper seats to go to WrestleMania. When the night is over, that match that closes the show, which is a pretty big fucking match that they just announced, that's the main event. For you, that's the main event. That's the last match you're going to see in person at WrestleMania this year. So how can you honestly tell people, oh, it's not a real main event? Yes, we know what is considered the bigger match, right? It's John Cena going for number 17, challenging Cody Rhodes. And if you want to look at that as the bigger and stronger of the 2 main events, you get no disagreement out of me. That is clearly the match that WrestleMania is being built around this year. But to say that, oh, well, this isn't a main event, it doesn't count. So therefore, CM Punk is not getting his WrestleMania main event. What CM Punk was bothered by back in the day was not being in the position of being in the feature match on the show that closed out the show. Now we have 2 nights. I don't think any of us would have conceived back then in 2012 and 2013 that one day we would have 2 nights of WrestleMania. Right? Maybe some people thought one day that might be the case, but it just wasn't talked about back then. It just wasn't anything that was even being considered. It's just different now. And so you can hold whatever opinion you want to hold, but to say that, oh, it doesn't count because it's not a real main event. Yes, it is a real main event. You may not think it's the biggest one this year, but it is a real main event. And CM Punk is finally getting his WrestleMania main event. But I love that twist at the very end. You know, the little reveal there at the end where he goes, and that's not the favor that I'm owed. Now, you could see when he made that comment, Paul Heyman is sitting there, or he's kneeling next to them, and he mouths the words like, God damn it. When Punk says that. And Roman looks over, and Roman has this look on his face, like almost like, wait, what? Like he was betrayed or something. This is not what he was expecting to hear. And clearly he's not very happy about it. And so the mystery drags on of what this favor is going to be. Punk requesting that Heyman be his wise man for the match is something that people have talked about. Maybe that's the favor. Maybe as we go into WrestleMania and CM Punk wants to take away one of Roman Reigns' weapons in his arsenal, or he wants to play mind games with him. He said before, he was my wise man before he was yours. Maybe the favor is Heyman's going to plan strategy with me and be my wise man and be in my corner for WrestleMania, right? Honestly, that would be very lame. It would be different if they were having a singles match and you didn't know where Heyman's allegiance lied, right? Where is Paul Heyman going to be standing at ringside during that match? Who is he going to be supporting, right? It's almost like custody of Paul Heyman. And at any point, if we get a Roman Reigns CM Punk match, right, that would be one of the key stories going into that match. The idea that he's got a favor in his back pocket, and after all these months, the big favor ends up being, oh, you know what? I want Paul to be in my corner for the match. I mean, you don't think that wouldn't be fucking lame? For as long as they've dragged this mystery out now for months about what this favor is going to be, that ends up being the favor. I think that would be very lame. I don't see it being that. The winner of the triple threat match being added to the WWE Championship match on night 2. That would be a big deal. The issue I have with that, it would be very difficult for me to envision a scenario where it really makes any sense. Because the favor is owed to him by Paul Heyman. So explain to me what sway Paul Heyman would have to have such a stipulation added to this match that it would affect the night 2 main event, especially after the comments that Punk made about The Rock and the way he because The Rock is the final boss, right? So if you assume The Rock in storyline here is everyone's boss, like, why would The Rock approve of such a thing? John Cena, as far as we know, John Cena is his champion. John Cena kicked Cody Rhodes in the balls at Elimination Chamber. That's his guy going for the title at WrestleMania. Why would The Rock be okay with Paul Heyman? And why would Heyman even have the power to dictate such a thing that, well, we're going to add CM Punk to the match on night 2, and he's going to challenge for the WWE Championship, a title, by the way, that is not even on the show that he is officially a part of. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I still say, though, that you need to add stakes to this match. I agree with people who say, well, there's nothing on the line. There needs to be something on the line. The idea that I talked about last week was it'd be very easy to add a stipulation that makes this a number 1 contenders match. You have 3 of the biggest stars in the entire company. Roman Reigns was the champion for 3.5 years. Seth Rollins was the very first world heavyweight champion. CM Punk, his resume speaks for itself. It wouldn't be that difficult to conceive of this being a number 1 contenders match where the winner earns a future championship match, not at WrestleMania this year, but down the road. It could be the next night on Raw, it could be Backlash, it could be SummerSlam, but at some point down the road, whatever brand they're a part of, that particular championship, they would get a title match. Then you have something on the line, right? And that works. Then there's something at least tangible that you could point to and say, wow, okay, this is an important match because we know all 3 of these guys, they want to be world champion, and you get a guaranteed shot by winning this match. But I will say this, if they can come up with a way, and just offhand, I don't know what that would be, but if they can come up with a way to make it make sense that the winner of this match is added to the night 2 main event between John Cena and Cody Rhodes, I'm at least open to it. Because right now, I'm not feeling it between Cody and Cena. And there's still time to turn that around, but I have not been overly impressed by what they have done so far as Cody and Cena. Because John Cena has been talking about the fans and not enough about Cody Rhodes. And that's where the issue should be. Specifically, why did he do what he did to Cody at the Elimination Chamber? Why take a shortcut like that and kick that guy in the balls and make him bleed? That still hasn't been addressed. It's not enough to just say that, oh, I'm doing this as revenge on the fans for all the bad shit that you guys did to me, and that's why I did what I did to Cody. No, that's not enough. That's a cop-out. And I'm hoping on Monday or at some point soon we get a better explanation from Cena about what that was all about. Maybe The Rock is not involved in this anymore. Maybe that's why The Rock hasn't been mentioned. If The Rock's not involved in it, then The Rock's not involved in it. But you still need to address the core issue between Cena and Cody. They haven't done that yet. So they have not given me a reason to care all that much about the issues between the 2 of them. The story is really John Cena is a bad guy now, and you either want him or don't want him to win number 17 and break the record. That's it. That's really it. That's really what the story is going into that match. They can find a way that makes sense that the winner of this is added to that. I know it's another multi-man match. I know. Back-to-back triple threat matches in main events at WrestleMania is not exactly ideal, but what it would do, like if Punk wins on night 1, it would be like tossing a pipe bomb into this whole thing, and it would really blow things up and shake things up in a way that I don't know that it's such a bad thing. But here's the thing, and I said this at the beginning of the review. Here's what I think. When do we find out? If that's the case, right? Well, then when do we find out about this favor and that stipulation? What if we don't find out until the end of WrestleMania Night 1? What if we go into WrestleMania, we have Roman and Punk and Seth Rollins, and CM Punk wins the triple threat match? And at the very end of Night 1 of WrestleMania, Punk gets on the microphone after his big win in his very first main event, and he announces what the favor is, or what the secret, add-on was to the match that we didn't know about. And Roman and Seth, nobody knew about it except him and Paul Heyman and WWE management. That the winner of that match is inserted into the main event the very next night at Night 2. See it tomorrow night. And that's how they go off the air on Night 1. That's like the big pipe bomb or the big reveal at the end of WrestleMania Night 1 that carries over into the second night. So if they were going to do it, I wouldn't even necessarily reveal it on TV before WrestleMania. I would save the reveal for that night. Why not? So we'll see, because outside of those things that we just talked about here, I don't know what else this favor could be. This favor, it has to be one of the things that I just discussed. And they're leaning so heavily into the idea of the favor to not even do it or cash in on it. And, we'll save the favor for like SummerSlam. Like, you can't do that. Like, you're actively bringing it up now on TV. This is the biggest show of the year. If it's going to play into things, it's got to play into things for WrestleMania. What else could it be? It's got to be something big, especially after the way they did that finish tonight. Oh, that's not the favor. Well, it's got to be something pretty fucking big. And that would be pretty big. So we'll see. And as I said earlier, Roman Reigns now, that he is going to be in the main event on Night 1 of WrestleMania. He breaks his own record. He is going to have 10 WrestleMania main events to his name, if you can believe it. And of course, it goes back here. WrestleMania 31 was the very first main event, which actually was an excellent match. A lot of those early Roman Reigns WrestleMania main events were bullshit. He was forced into them. He was spoon-fed to the fans. They didn't want him in that spot. They booed. They rebelled against him. It was the John Cena thing all over again. WrestleMania 31, though, even though the fans were booing him there too, that was a great fucking match. That first match with him and Brock. WrestleMania 32, him and Triple H, that sucked. WrestleMania 33, him and The Undertaker, that sucked. WrestleMania 34, him and Brock again, sucked. WrestleMania 35, he was not in the main event. He had just come back after his leukemia was in remission. He had basically a throwaway match in the middle of the show with Drew McIntyre. WrestleMania 36, he was not on that show. COVID, he wasn't around. When he came back, he was a totally different person. The big dog was dead, and we got the beginning of the Tribal Chief. WrestleMania 37, right? Where he stacked him and beat him. What was the catchphrase? Stack him and whack him or something? Whatever it was. Speaking of triple threat matches, that was a pretty damn good one too, right? Roman Reigns, Edge, Daniel Bryan. So that was a quality match. The match with Brock at WrestleMania 38, no, not really. 39 against Cody, excellent match. Tag team match last year, excellent. The rematch with Cody, excellent. One of the best WrestleMania main events you'll ever see. So a lot of those early matches are just like, just bottom of the barrel. But he's had some really good ones in there. And so this is going to be his 10th. Smash him, stack him, pin him. Thank you. I forgot what the expression was on his t-shirt. Oh, it was definitely not that. It definitely did not say Brie mode on his t-shirt.
The Fresh Maker.
Hey, David Thiering. Busting out the Mentos. I love it. Thank you, David. Can't have a stream without popping a Mentos, man. But yeah, so anyway, 10 WrestleMania main events coming up for Roman Reigns. He'll put that on his Hall of Fame resume, I guess, when he goes in one day. This Monday, they're back to a 3 p.m. Eastern start time. You know, I thought it was 3 p.m. Eastern tonight. And then I come to find out, I put on my Netflix after I connected to my trusty VPN here, and I'm sitting here, and I'm like, why is it not coming on? It's 3:03. And then I realize it's got a 4 o'clock Eastern start. Now, I need somebody to explain to me, because they're in the same building tonight as they're going to be on Monday. They're in London. They're in the same place. So why was it a 3 p.m. start this Monday coming up, but tonight it was a 4 o'clock start? I don't understand why we have two different start times here, but apparently on Monday they're back to 3 p.m. Eastern. And that'll be on Netflix, so you don't need a VPN for that. But we've got Cody Rhodes and John Cena. They're back under the same roof, possibly for the final time until WrestleMania. Io Sky defends the Women's World Championship against Rhea Ripley. Bianca Belair will be the special guest referee for that match. Jimmy Uso takes on Gunther, and Logan Paul is going to call out AJ Styles. Daylight savings. Curfew. I still don't have a good answer here. It's the same place. It's the same city. It's the same building, only a few days apart. I'm not sure why they have different start times, but apparently they do. And again, for that stream, I'll go live earlier, a little earlier than usual on Monday, maybe 8:30-ish or so. So as long as you keep it locked in here to the channel or on X, I'll keep you guys posted about what we're doing there. What did you think of SmackDown from London? 60% thumbs up for this show. I wonder how much of that is really for the closing segment. 24.7% thumbs in the middle and roughly 15% thumbs down, with almost 1,400 votes in so far. Clocks move back Saturday in the UK. Is that true? That's what that retro says. Clocks go back. Okay, well then that makes sense, if that's the case. Clocks go back. Hey, I'm much happier with the 3 p.m. start than 4 p.m. That's fine with me. I got no issue with that. I will miss these earlier start times here. I'm not gonna lie to you. Hey, Utkarsh, welcome to the channel. You get a thumbs up here from Mercedes Monet. Take a look at your super chats here. We do have a goal going in the chat for a bonus round of Be the Booker. We're still 20 likes away, though, from doing Be the Booker at all. So we need 20 more here. Let's start with...
I am the Lord.
Shut the fuck up. Can't win with this guy. Fuck that tree. Cannot win with this guy. I was going to say, let's start with Chris O'Neill, who says that he thinks Punk somehow leaves WrestleMania with the title. Well, look, I mean, if the idea that I just talked about happens and Punk gets added to that match, it's very possible. It is very possible. Can you imagine CM Punk goes from having no WrestleMania main events in his career to having 2 of them back-to-back? What is the name of the song in the background? Hardline by Sandman. It's a great song. Oh, it's a great song. Honey deep fried chicken with flavor. $10 super chat. If Jade Cargill versus Naomi can't main event night 1, the ladies should stick it to every women, including the men, by having a 7-star match and outshining the upcoming main event match. Well, good luck with that. Naomi has a tall task ahead of her, if that's the case. Holiday 197, hi Solo. I think the booking on the Netflix premiere hindered this year's WrestleMania build. Punk versus Rollins should have been saved for WrestleMania. along with the Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley blow-off. 2 long-term WrestleMania feuds there. You could not wait any longer to blow off Rhea and Liv. It was already played out by the time we got to January 6th. To drag that out for another 3.5 months would have been fucking awful. So they had to get that match out of the way in January. I'm glad they did. Punk and Rollins, they did not have to blow it off. I say blow it off, but like do the first match as quickly as they did. They opted to, because I think they just had other ideas. I don't know if there were other ideas and maybe plans changed and so this is what we ended up with, or if the triple threat was something they had in mind going back to late last year. I don't know. But they obviously chose to go in a different direction. Josh Carlos, 98. What's going on, Josh? You did a video 5 years ago on the best wrestlers of the decade, 2010 to 2019. Well, since we are close to halfway through the 2020s, who are the top 5 of this decade so far? In no particular order. It's quite the question to hit me with out of nowhere here. But I can tell you right off the top of my head, Cody Rhodes is on that list. Drew McIntyre is on that list. Will Ospreay is on that list. So those are the 3 that I'm sure of off the top of my head. I might even put Kenny Omega on that list, honestly. If we're talking from 2020 onward, I'd put Omega on there. That's 4. And I'd have to think about the 5th one. And then we got a $9.99 here from Josh, who says, my personal favorite 3 promos / talkers of all time. Jake the Snake, The Rock, and Macho Man. 3 different styles that are distinct from each other. Do you have any that also stand out? It says Foley was good too. Foley was not good. Foley was great. I might even have Foley, honestly, in that top 3. But it's tough, though, because I would also have Macho Man. I would have Jake. As far as my 3rd, I might go CM Punk. I might go CM Punk for my 3rd. Those are all good choices, though. Let's go to Jerome Eugenio. So when you interfere in a title match, you get rewarded by getting added in a multi-man match for the title. Yep. That's how it works. Joseph Stewart, do you think Roman Reigns will have a career in Hollywood like Rock, John Cena, and Batista have? I do. I think he will eventually end up doing movies. I'm not going to say he's going to have the kind of success that they've had, but I think we'll see him dabbling in Hollywood at some point in the next few years. Mr. Rod. Don't know if it's just me, but does the build for WrestleMania this year give you WrestleMania 2000 vibes? I would say it does, because I literally said that earlier. And I haven't changed my mind in the last 90 minutes. So, yes. Joseph says, buy or sell Batman Forever or Batman and Robin? I'll go Batman and Robin. Sidro is with us tonight. Says, wise sex like a game of bridge. Either need a good partner or a good hand. What do you call 2 nuns and a blonde? 2 tight ends and a wide receiver. You're going to hell for that one, brother. Going to hell for that one. Holiday 197. If it had been Gunther versus John Cena for the World Heavyweight Championship, Punk versus Rollins and Roman versus Drew at WrestleMania, instead, this would have been better. Perhaps Gable could have been given the spot of facing Cody for the... Oh my God. I thought Sidro was throwing the jokes at me. But then I didn't see Holiday Super Chat here. I didn't see Holiday Super Chat right above Sidro's. That's pretty funny. That's actually really funny. WWE Wrestling and Gaming. I still think Cody Cena or Orton Cena will draw more than Randy Cody in terms of money, especially when Cena draws more money than Orton. So you don't think that Backlash is not going to sell out either way, whether Cena or Orton are in the main event? I think they'll make quite a bit of money that night in St. Louis, regardless of who it is between those two. But if Randy Orton is in that main event and it's not against John Cena, if it's against Cody Rhodes, I think they're going to do just fine with him in the main event in that market. Somewhere else, I would agree. Yes, you would want Cena in that match. You put Cena and Orton in that match, and I think you got magic there. Sidro, what do you call an overpriced circumcision? A ripoff. I'm going to give you an air horn for that one because that one was actually pretty good. Painful. Painful to think of, but brings back bad memories. But yes, Sidro, thank you for the super chat. Power Spying Games. I met Piper Niven at a meet and greet yesterday, and he did not have any further comment on that. I hope it went well. You didn't tell me how the meet and greet went. I assume she was very nice. I've never heard anything bad about Piper Niven. Piper seems like a very nice young lady. He also says, buy, sell, and rent. Be the Booker Classics. Hunter and McCall versus Hall and Oates. Tony Khan versus Jim Cornette. Hulk Hogan versus Hollywood Hogan in a Buried Alive match. I got to buy on that Buried Alive match. I would love to know how that match ends when you have two guys with creative control. I'll put Tony Khan against Jim Cornette as my rent, and I'll sell on Hunter and McCall against Hall and Oates. Base Beerus, they uploaded Austin versus Scott Hall. Great match. 3.5 stars. I don't remember liking that match that much. I mean, obviously Hall took that over-exaggerated stunner bump, which was great. I just remember thinking, man, what a downgrade for Stone Cold, you know, I mean, all due respect to Scott Hall, not that he wasn't like a big name, but it just was such a downgrade to see Austin just in a mid-card match against Scott Hall, you know? Fuck JBL, fuck The Miz, fuck Alberto Del Rio. Solomonster, you look like Cody Rhodes. Thank you. I'm thinking about getting a neck tattoo right here. Only it'll be the Sound Off logo. What do you think about that? WWE Wrestling and Gaming, what is Punk's favor? What is Cena's backlash role? Well, those are the questions, aren't they? I just went through a whole bunch of different scenarios a few minutes ago. You should go back and check it out. By the way, I see that we hit our super chat goal for a bonus round of Be the Booker. So we will be doing not one, but 2 rounds of Be the Booker here in just a little bit. Thanks to you guys. David Thiering with the $27 super chat. Solomonster wants JD's soul, and he wants your soul to hit that like button. So we do Be the Booker later in the stream. Very well said. Listen to David. He knows what he's talking about. Power Spying Games. Buy, rent, sell, disregard. Be the Booker failures. Kelly against Lacey Von Erich. Well Done against Indusher. Bret Hart against the Gobbledygooker, which I have no memory of. And Goldberg against you. Well, I'm going to sell on Goldberg against me because I don't think anybody wants to see that. Least of all me.
It's the amazing Goonthar.
Oh my God.
Jerry Lawler loves Goonthar the Magnificent. All hail Goonthar.
It is Drew Johnson. I thought Drew was gone forever. We haven't heard from him in so long. Drew dropping a $50 Gunther bomb. Says, sorry, I've been gone. Went through a hard breakup. You're the GOAT, my friend. Well, Drew, you know, you gotta DM me an address here. I'll take care of it for you. I'll do the old ring and run. You give me her address. I'll ring the doorbell. I'll go hide behind a tree. Watch her open the door. Closes the door. I'll ring the doorbell again. Go hide behind a tree. Call her phone number. Wait till she picks up. Hang up. Anything to make you happy, brother. I'm sorry to hear that. No, but that sucks. And hopefully with time, that will pass. And you will end up in a much better spot. Which I know you will. But I'm glad you're still around, brother. I didn't know what happened to you. Hey, Loves Cats says you can write it off on your taxes as a work-related expense. Good tattoo idea. You know what? I didn't think about that. That's true. If I'm doing it for you guys, we'll do a whole like tattoo review on a stream. Then yeah, I could write it off. Put it right here. I don't work in an office anymore. Nobody has to know. I don't have to answer to anybody. I can do whatever I want. So yeah, we're going to put Goldberg against me as the cell on that list. And as far as the... Oh, he said disregard. You got to stop adding all these extra options. Now you're just confusing me. Actually, well done against Indu Share is pretty fucking terrible. I'll sell that one. I'll rent on Kelly and Lacey, and I'm going to buy on Bret Hart and the Gobbledygooker. Because you know what? Anybody can bring the Gobbledygooker to a great match. It's Bret Hart. The soon-to-be 3-time Hall of Famer. Nobody else can say that. Holiday 197, hoping we put a bow on the Bloodline storyline with Jacob versus Solo. After nearly 4 years, it is time to move on. Don't you know that there are other Bloodline members waiting in the wings? This thing is never going to end. It's time to move on, he says. Jacob needs to be pushed on his own. Well, that I agree with. And I think he will be in due time. Eminem with the 25. I miss activating Brie, but she needs a drink like Adam Pearce. Now that Britt Baker deleted AEW from her Instagram, should we start counting down to her arrival in WWE by SummerSlam? No. I've heard nothing about her contract status, and frankly, I don't really know that WWE needs her right now. But no. I don't think we're going to be seeing her going anywhere so soon. David Thiering with the 30. Don't worry, Solomonster, I'm here. Just not in the chat as much tonight because I'm trying to set some work done while I'm listening to you. Get some work done. Tonight, apparently, I'm like an RKO out of nowhere with my super chats. Well, sometimes those are the best ones. Who was it? Our friend Leopoldo the other night. As I was literally about to end the stream, the car is driving off, and then he dropped a bomb on me. Talk about out of nowhere. Number 1, Homo Sapien with the $20 super chat. Why did the old woman put roller skates on her rocking chair? She wanted to rock and roll. I gotta say, I like that one too. We got some good ones tonight. Base Beerus are Punk, Roman, and Franklin Rollins all tweeners. I wouldn't say Punk's a tweener. I think Punk is firmly in the babyface category. Roman is still, to me, he's very much in the heel category. If there's a tweener in here, it's Seth Rollins. He also says, no yeet. Yes, it will be no yeet for Jey Uso in the main event this year. Jey Uso will not be closing the show. I mean, did you honestly think he was going? Have you seen the build for this match? Did you honestly think it was closing either night of WrestleMania? I wouldn't close the pre-show with that match. I think it ends up right in the middle of the show. Especially, Jay's going to win. I think they do it in the middle of the show. I think that's what they did with Bryan and Kofi. Although back then it was still one night. Maybe if it was 2 nights, Bryan and Kofi would have headlined the first night. But they did it right in the middle of the show, and that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Nick Grasso says, with Saraya officially gone from AEW, does she return to WWE? If so, do they clear her to wrestle again? I don't see her wrestling full-time. If anything, it would probably be on a part-time basis. I mean, ultimately, it's up to WWE. She was not medically cleared by their doctors the last time. That's why she left. As of right now, she is still not cleared. Now, she demonstrated working in AEW that she can, safely work. WWE has told people like Edge and Bryan Danielson, that they would never be cleared again, and then they came back. So I'm sure she could wrestle for them, but officially they never medically cleared her. So, do I think that she'll be back there at some point and wrestle there? Probably, yeah. Yeah. Our friend Aldous is with us. Says, there was a guy in the crowd that looks like you. I think I saw that guy. Yeah. That was like the British me. We have one of those in each country. They had one in Brussels. They had one in Scotland. It's always that one guy that looks like me. I feel like if I was there, we'd all get along very well. Either that or we would just get completely sick of each other. Joseph Brooks, I see that Izzy the Superfan is a wrestler now, even won a title in some promotion that she works for. I forgot. But remember you had an idea about her and Bayley. What was it again? Oh, I had an idea many years ago about, Izzy all grown up, attacking Bayley, and then you have a whole program out of it. I think she's been beefing with Mercedes on social media. I'm seeing from other people's tweets because I can't see Izzy's tweets. Apparently I'm blocked. I just learned this week. That's okay. The Juliet 316. I've liked the idea of WWE inducting matches and moments in the Hall of Fame for a long time. I'm glad they're doing it now. Also glad they're not treating us as stupid with Rey Fenix's debut not being a real secret. Yeah, I have no problem with it. Again, they're running the other vignettes as well for the mystery man who's debuting, and maybe they'll keep that a mystery until he shows up. So not everything has to be a mystery up until the day they debut. If they're doing this with 2 different people, you reveal one and let the other one be a mystery, even though we have a pretty good sense of who it is. JDFVA, I should say. 14 months of channel membership. You're actually making me get some Mentos. Good. And I want you to report back and let me know how it is. Holiday 197. Hey Solo, when and if Jay wins with the World Heavyweight Championship, what direction would you take his reign in, and who would be the first challenger? Maybe Jimmy with a jealousy story. No, I don't want to see Jimmy and Jay. We already saw that. Been there, done that. It wasn't any good. I have no interest in seeing that again. First challenger could be Seth Rollins, honestly. I would not have the title on Jay for very long. I give him a few months maybe, and that's it. And then we move on. David Thiering with Be the Booker now unlocked. Let's take care of the second round. Well, it looks like we've taken care of that. That was sent 20 minutes ago. David Thiering with a pair of $20 super chats for a total of 40. And there was a third one I didn't see. 60. Look at this guy. This guy is unbelievable. Where is David? David, you are awesome. Tonga Loa Superfan.
It's the amazing Gunther.
Hold on.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther. Gunther the mighty Gunther and Drew Johnson. Oh yeah.
Drew is on a roll tonight, man. Drew with his second $50 bomb of the night. Back as a member. Love you, bro. You're the best in the business. If I let you down, I apologize. You would never let me down. I'm just glad you're okay. People vanish, and I think the worst. Like, what happened to poor ABK? I'm worried about him. Just want to know he's alive. Haven't heard from him in a few months. David, Ben, and Drew, both of you guys. Oh my God, look at this.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
If you added a third belt to your... This is Todd, by the way. That was not Drew. That was Todd Warner. If you added a third belt to your wall, what would it be? Not counting the Solomonster belt. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because if I had room in this one section over here, which I really don't, it would be the Solomonster belt, which I have in another room. And honestly, it needs to be re-leathered. I need to find somebody. I need to find someone who can re-leather it, because it's a little beat up. We'll take care of that eventually. But if not that one, what would it be? It would be the other winged eagle that I showed you guys on the stream a few months ago. I have a white winged eagle. You see the black one over my shoulder, but I have on a white strap. I think the Warrior had it on a white strap once. Warrior had the winged eagle on like a yellow strap and a powder blue strap. But I saw something on eBay that caught my eye, and I had to get it. And it's a winged eagle, full size, on a white strap. It is it's not even close. Like, it is the heaviest belt that I have ever held in my life. Like, this thing is legitimately 12 pounds. And it's honestly, there's no way the actual belt is this heavy. I don't know why it's so heavy. I mean, it's got thicker plates. I think they're 5 or 6 millimeter. It's a very heavy belt, but man, it is a beauty. I put a picture of it up online when I got it. Curved plate, gorgeous. I would have that on the wall, but it's so heavy it would fall off. So,
by the power of Valhalla, it's vintage coal tar.
My God, we have Gunther against Coal Tar, he says, at WrestleMania 41. Book it. That is from Eminem. Gunther and Coal Tar. Coal Tar has antlers on his head. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Might give him some extra power. Who are we kidding? Gunther would murder that man. But anyway, Todd, I hope that answers your question. And one day when we're not here anymore and we have a different setup, I will definitely have some stuff on display. That's for sure. But yeah, that belt is so heavy. I think even if I tried to have it on the wall hanging like that, there's no way. There's just no way. Tonga Loa Superfan. 32 years ago, there was the Lex Express. Is it time to bring... Oh my God. Is it time to bring it back, but call it the Tonga Loa Express? Imagine the crowds that Tonga Loa would draw. The Tonga Loa Express. So you're proposing a bus tour, cross country, for Tonga Loa. It's going to be awfully sad, though, when he gets off the bus and there's no one around. See, like, the tumbleweed blow by. Feel bad for the guy. It's not a bad idea, though. I mean, for the jokes, if nothing else. Ryan Cook. How did Roman not make me your top 5? How did Roman not make me your top 5? I don't know. How did it not make you your top 5? I have no idea what you're asking me. I have no idea what you're talking about. Are you talking about my top 5 of the decade from before? That question? I mean, if you want to just talk just based on influential names, then sure. But I came up with the 5 names that appealed the most to me. If he appeals to you, then that's great. Obviously, Roman was one of the biggest stars of the past decade, half decade. That's indisputable. Abusika says Bukaki.
I'm the Bukaki ghost.
No. No. Take that to the bathroom. The Bukaki ghost. He doesn't make very many appearances, but when he does, he climaxes posthumously. You know what? I would still rather watch the Bukaki ghost than I would John Moxley with a freaking board of nails sticking out of his back. I'll take the ghost any day of the week. But that was David Thiering dropping a bomb. Let the world know that David has struck again. Grab the special socks, says Ryagu. Isn't it special sock? Cameron Spencer, as a hardcore Sanity fan. I mean, you're ribbing me, right? I mean, there's no such thing. I mean, there may have been Sanity fans, but diehard Sanity fans, I didn't know those existed. I feel Eric Young should have been a world champion and Sanity should have been the top heels in WWE. They got screwed. Well, you and I are going to have to disagree on that, brother. Eric Young is a world champion. He may have been in TNA, but in WWE, absolutely not. No way, no how. Number 1, Homo Sapien with a $10 super chat. Surprise match added to WrestleMania. Tonga Loa and Omos team up to unify the tag team titles. Sure. Maybe that's what the tag team division needs, just to shake things up a little bit. Blue... I'm going to call you Blue Onion because for whatever reason, I can't look at that name and I always think of Blue Onion. So Blue Onion wants to know, did I like the WWF title belt before the Winged Eagle? Yes, the Hogan 87 belt. I did like that belt. The belt that Hogan won when he beat the Iron Sheik, that belt I did not like. I thought that belt was ugly as shit. That green belt, yeah, that was a no. Josh Worthington. Austin versus Brett at WrestleMania was indeed one of the best matches. I do wonder, however, could these matches be replacing the Celebrity Hall of Fame? That's a good question. You know what? I hadn't thought about that, but maybe. I'd be okay with that if that were the case. Because if they still go on to announce a celebrity inductee on top of everything else, that's a lot. I feel like the last few years they've actually pulled back with the number of inductees. I don't think they do the Warrior Award anymore. So I don't know. I don't know if it's replacing the celebrity wing, but if they did, I'm fine with that. Drew Johnson, again, thank you for that first 50 bomb from before. Jesus Valiente. Tacos or burritos? For the sake of my stomach, neither. Sadly. If I had to choose, though, I'd go tacos, but nothing with cheese. Cody Snyder. I saw a clip earlier where Austin was walking in 2002, was being discussed. Putting over Brock at a King of the Ring qualifier. No build. Nah, dude. Austin was right. It was a pretty stupid idea. But even he admits that walking out the way he did was not so smart. And I think what it would have cost him $650,000, I think he was fined when he came back. Ooh, Tomas says fajitas. Yeah. Give me a good steak fajita. I'll take that. Dark Effect, 5 months of channel membership, celebrating 5 months. Dark Effect, thank you, brother. I'm celebrating right alongside you. Drew Johnson, back as a channel member now. Devin from New Jersey, 2000, says, my colleague think, yeah, I'm noticing a trend here where all of your questions are somebody else thinks. I'm starting to think that this is you. My colleague thinks that the New Day are being downplayed so they don't take any heat off of Cena. Does Solo agree? No. The New Day were turned heel at the beginning of December. John Cena didn't turn heel until March 1st. So that's a no. One has nothing to do with the other. Drew with that second 50 bomb. Because Drew is the man. Oh, that's right. Austin talked him down to a mere $250,000. He was able to talk Vince down from the original $650,000 fine. Todd Warner, I hope I answered your question. Thank you, Todd, for that very generous 50 bomb. Tonga Loa Superfan with a 10. Do you think the reason The Rock did not return for WrestleMania 39 was more related to WWE not being sold, them meaning not getting the board of director stocks, etc., until it happened at WrestleMania 40? No, I don't think one had to do with the other. I mean, they claimed it was a creative thing. They couldn't come to some sort of creative consensus on what he would do, and they put their pencils down. I think it was more a creative issue. I don't think it had anything to do with a sale or a pending sale or anything like that. Eminem, Gunther against Coulter. He's pitching that match, WrestleMania 41. That'd be like the gimmick battle royal match from WrestleMania 17. That'll be the equivalent on this show. David Thiering, with so many bombs out here tonight, let's throw in the Ghost and make it a full set of craziness. It's not a party until the Ghost appears. Thank you for the 69, David. That's the first and only time I will ever say that in my life. Justin G, Big Kev here to contribute to the Ghost pool. Thank you, Kev. Kev is throwing some in the pot. Everybody wants to have some in the pot. It is much appreciated. Man. You guys really killed it tonight. I'll tell you that. We're already closing in on 500 likes here on this video. Well, you're getting 2 rounds of Be the Booker tonight, so you should give yourselves a round of applause. It's the only way to end the week with 2 rounds. You know, this is second to last stream also for the month of March. And this will go down as, if not, actually, no, I think this will be our best March. The way things are shaping up, I think this could be our best March ever. So we'll see. We have one more live stream on Monday night. Let's make that a good one. I hope they make it a good Raw, too. Tactical Butt Cheek, 93. With the $9.99. Going based off of your musical choices for your reviews, can I assume that you are a fan of synthwave? You assume correctly. Have you ever heard of Gunship? Their song Monster in Paradise fucks hard. Solomonster is the GOAT. Yeah, I love Gunship. And there's like a couple of Gunship songs that I would love to use here on the stream, but I can't. And that makes me very sad. But yeah, I love Gunship. Trying to think what I would... hold on a second here. I have on my playlist their favorite song of mine. I'll tell you what it is. I will give you the recommendation, and then you guys could check them out and tell me if I'm crazy. But I think Gunship is great. Here we go. Actually, 2 songs. Dark All Day and Honor Among Thieves. Honor with a U, by the way. Dark All Day and Honor Among Thieves. Go check out those songs and tell me that those songs aren't great. I think the videos are even better. Cameron Spencer, Fire, Nico Harrison. EJ Slemp. You don't look like Ilya Dragunov. Thank you. That's like Hulk Hogan in the Dungeon of Doom saying, it's not hot. How long has it been? Dragunov, if he's not healed up yet, he should be cleared very soon. I imagine we see him back right after WrestleMania. They may be holding him out. Anyway, let's get to round number 1, shall we? It is Be the Booker time.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
Here we go, man. There's so many songs like that I would love to use on the streams, but they're not safe. They're not safe, unfortunately. It is Be the Booker time. It is the favorite time. No better way to spend a Friday night. So let's see how we do here in round 1. Kick things off with the tag teams as we always do. Completely random. Where it lands, I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. And we have the Faces of Fear. We have perhaps the toughest man in the wrestling business, someone you definitely did not want to mess with, in Meng. But I got to tell you, looking at the Barbarian, I wouldn't want to fuck with him either. And of all the people to manage them, Jimmy Hart just seems like the last person that you would expect to get along with these two guys, but there he is. The Faces of Fear. Are going to take on the team of Goldust and Booker T. A very underrated tag team that does not get talked about enough. All right, women's Be the Booker. We have Rhea Ripley, who very well may end up as the women's world champion again this Monday. I'm going to say no. I don't think Bianca Belair is going to give Rhea Ripley the women's world championship. So we are still heading for a triple threat match, but no triple threats here. It's going to be Rhea Ripley. 1-on-1 against Rhea Ripley. We all win. We all win when we get Rhea against Rhea. How can you vote against that? How great would that be? You know how many online views that would get if they uploaded the video to their YouTube channel if you did Rhea Ripley against Rhea Ripley? There you go. The greatest women's match that we've ever booked. Amazing. We have the rare mirror match here in Be the Booker. Can mommy top mommy? Says ZSJ. Oh boy. And now we have men's Be the Booker. Double your fun. Remember those double mint gum commercials? Double your pleasure, double your fun with double mint gum. We have Andrade. This is inconceivable that he would be in the main event. We don't even get to see him on TV. What's he doing in the main event? This is very unrealistic. Andrade against Adam Cole in the main event. You can't deny the fact that it would be a great match. Whatever you think about the status of these two guys right now, it would be a great match. And actually, if this were like black and gold NXT, if we're going back like 6-7 years, I mean, that's a fucking great match. in like a takeover main event. Let's just be honest here. Well, now we move on to round number 2. That one went pretty well, I'd say. We actually got a clean sweep in round 1, which means we are due for probably a terrible round. But I'm not gonna jinx it though. But we are doing stipulations here for round number 2. We try to change it up a little bit here. So we're gonna do stipulations. And I guess the only question is, do we start? Well, let's start with the women this time. Change that up a little bit. We'll start with the women. It will be a loser leaves town match. So the loser of this match is gone. They are no longer part of Solomonster Championship Wrestling. They are gone from SCW. Those are the rules. Losers got to go. Kairi Sane. One of the most beautiful elbow drops that you will ever see. Seriously, you go from Randy Savage to Kairi Sane. That's the order right there. She will be facing Mommy is Mad. Pick a stipulation to make her happy. We already did, but now we have to pick a new one because we landed on this. So the loser leaves town stipulation is now officially wiped. By the way, we have landed on Rhea Ripley for a 3rd time here. Technically, we have landed on her 3 times now. But we must pick a new stipulation. Those are the rules. So loser leaves town is officially gone. This will now be a TLC match. Oh boy, we have just escalated this big time. We have a TLC match with Kairi Sane on one. Poor Kairi Sane. God, break this poor girl in half if she goes flying off one of those ladders. All right, let's see who it's going to be against. Kairi Sane, TLC, against Nia Jax. There's no way Kairi Sane doesn't end up in the hospital after this match. Didn't Nia almost kill her once back during one of the pandemic shows at the Performance Center? I know that was a different Nia Jax. That was many years ago. I don't think this is going to end well for poor Kairi. Rest in peace, Kairi Sane, after this one. All right, now let's do a tag team match. She's dead. Yeah. She almost killed Kairi twice. All right, this is going to be a Monsters Ball match. We just booked one of these the other night, didn't we? We had a Monsters Ball match the other night. But this is a Monsters Ball tag team match. That's what this is. This is going to be all chaos, but John Moxley is loving this. Shawn Michaels and Big Daddy Cool Diesel, the 2 dudes with attitude, are going to be in a Monsters Ball match. Are we going to see Kevin Nash take a bump into the barbed wire? Are we going to see Shawn Michaels landing in thumbtacks? Is that what we're going to see? They're going to take on the team of Hulk Hogan and Edge. You know, I have to give this the bell. Just the idea of Kevin Nash and Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan in a Monsters Ball match doing hardcore deathmatch shit is highly amusing to me. Will Hulk Hogan take a bump through a flaming table? I would pay money to see this. I would pay money to see this. Maybe not Las Vegas WrestleMania prices, but I would pay money to see this. Main event. See, that feels like the main event. I feel like I just booked the main event. We haven't even gotten to the main event yet. HBK jobbing to Hogan again. Yeah, we know who's winning that match. All right, our main event is going to be contested inside the dreaded fight pit. This is going to be a fight. Are you ready for a fight? Sorry, Cope. That don't work for me. Oh, you come on. Come on. We have Andrade again in the main event. We have over 200 wrestlers in this fucking thing. And we land on Andrade for the second straight main event. I think Andrade is he's so angry. He just wants to be booked. He's like, I don't know how he's working his way into this. Oh, man. It will be Andrade against Jeff Hardy in the main event. I just don't want to see Andrade in two main events. I'm sorry. The tag match was the main event. The tag team monster, and in a fight pit, no less. Jeff Hardy in a fight pit. It just doesn't work. It's like Hulk Hogan in a Monsters Ball match. The two just don't go together. 1 for 3. I told you we had a clean sweep the first time and we were due for a bad round, and that's exactly what happened because I'm always right. Arabian Night 2000 with the final super chat here says, did you see the extended interview recently with Swerve Strickland talking about representation and his frustrating time in WWE? It is getting steam online. I saw some clips. I don't know if that's new or how recent that is. I saw Top Dollar went off on him because he thought comments that Swerve made were about him, even though the comments didn't really sound like they were about Top Dollar, but he went off on Swerve anyway. I don't know. I saw the clip about him talking about him having a match on, what was it, 205 Live and getting complimented on it, and then he ended up back at the PC in like headlock class or something like that. He was just not happy. He was not happy in WWE. They didn't see him at the level that he saw himself at. And so he ended up getting released, and good on him. You know, he ended up going somewhere else and he made it, you know, and he signed a very, very lucrative contract with AEW that's going to keep him there through 2029. And good for him. He's a lot happier now. And with any luck, he'll be the AEW World Champion again in the next, what is it, 8 days, 9 days? I hope so. Justin says, Rhea versus Rhea has me hyped. Oh, I think it's got everybody hyped. You might even get the Ghost to come back out. What is Vlad TV anyway? Never heard of them. He didn't get along with Triple H, basically. Oh, it's like what Bobby Lashley said. Lashley said, I just wasn't a Triple H guy. Some people were. Like his boys from NXT, Balor and Owens and people like that. Like those were Triple H guys. And he never had that kind of relationship with him. And they just, I guess, couldn't work together in his view. So he left. I don't want to know. Okay. I don't want to know what Vlad TV is, says Carrie. Is it someone that is considered, you know, reliable and someone who typically does like big time interviews and is respected in that realm or not? Will I ever get the purple strap winged eagle? But I think I'm all good on my winged eagles. I don't need one in different colors. I have that one that you see on screen, and I got the white one, and I think we're good. I don't have room for anything else right now. Big interviews, yes. Reliable, not so much. Is it like TMZ? Is it like the Hannibal TV? We have Vlad TV and Hannibal TV. Vlad TV has 6 million subscribers. Wow. Well, Hannibal TV definitely doesn't have 6 million subscribers. I know that. Get a red strap on my Solomonster championship, says Steve. Yeah, I don't know about red. Although I think the old like NWA television title had a red strap, I think, right? No, I think the black strap works. Do I remember the Spanish soccer player Mulan that looks like me? I have no idea what you're talking about. He interviews a bunch of rappers and gang members. Interesting. Do I have the tag team titles from the 90s? I don't, although I do love that design. You know, the SmackDown tag team title design now, it's very similar to the one from 2002, but the 2002 one had some color in it, and I like those belts a lot too, the ones that London and Kendrick held. We have Larceny with 42 months. Look at this, a Sound Off legend. 42 months of membership. Buy or sell dream tag team match. Mega Powers against the two-man power trip, or Brett and Owen against Angle and Benoit. Brett and Owen against Angle and Benoit. That would have been an incredible match. That would have been amazing. Moon Yayin. I think that's how, what did I say? I've never heard of that person before, so I'm not familiar with them. But Larceny, I hope that answers your question, brother. Thank you for the 42 months. And thank everybody for all the big bombs tonight, all the questions. We had some fun with Be the Booker. Let's do it again on Monday. Monday is the final stream here for the month of March. We're going to close out strong, and then we're heading into what traditionally is the busiest and biggest month, because it's WrestleMania month. So we have WrestleMania, we have Dynasty coming up. We got a whole bunch of things coming up in the month of April. And I'm looking forward to that. Thank you again. I'm going to head on out here. Get ready for episode 907 of the Sound Off this weekend. We're going to have a lot to get into. I will have a Dark Side of the Ring review on the first episode of the new season, covering Hell in a Cell. Honestly, it was really a Mick Foley episode that also delved into Hell in a Cell. And so I'll have a full recap on that. And yes, I am going to get into the Hogan drama of the week. There's always something with the Hogan family, if not Hogan himself, every single week. So we'll get into that and a bunch of your mailbag questions as well. That'll be on episode 907 coming up on Sunday. Any thoughts on the college basketball tournament? Nope. I was blown away by the end of that Bulls game against the Lakers last night. That was something. Holy shit. That was a crazy ending to that game. You don't see too many endings like that. I've been trying to follow all of the drama between LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith, but I have no idea. It's kind of degenerated into this just stupid war of words now, back and forth. Watch, like TKO, they'll try to get them in for like a WrestleMania match or something. Hey, you know, LeBron's a big wrestling fan, so would you really be shocked if they tried to book something between those two? LaFlop. Didn't LeBron like win the game for his team in a buzzer beater the night before? Now you're calling him LaFlop? Boy, how quickly the fans turn, huh? Stephen A. Smith lied about LeBron not being at Kobe's funeral. Shit is deep. I did see that clip from the Pat McAfee show. Why would he even say that? Like, if it was demonstrably false, I don't know why he would even say something like that. But this all seems to stem from comments that Stephen A. Smith made about Bronny. And I thought it was something that they squashed. Apparently not. And now it's just devolved into this war of words between them. It's just very bizarre. Mostly about LeBron's son, who isn't that good. Am I going to a Knicks playoff game? No, but I would love to go to a Mets playoff game. We got to get there first. Opening day didn't go too well for us, but that's okay. That's okay. There's always next time. Chris Mikesell. He fell on his arse. He fell on his effing arse. Davey Boy Smith, congrats to Shockmaster getting inducted. I'm telling you, he should not be going in as Typhoon. He should be going in as Shockmaster. He needs to walk out on stage with the glitter helmet. And then take it off, and then he can do his speech. Look, I'll just say this. I remember when LeBron was still playing in high school, and he was the first person I could remember where they were actually broadcasting his high school games on ESPN. And that's when you knew, like, oh, okay, there must be something special about this guy. That they were showing, if not the full games, they were showing at least portions of his high school games on ESPN. And I think he went on to do pretty well for himself. His son, I can't judge. I don't watch enough of his son to know how good he is or not. But look, it's a father looking out for his son. What else is there to say? Do I think the Shockmaster is still the best botch of all time, or did Titus World Slide surpass that? You know, it's tough because the Titus one was so great, but yes, Shockmaster is still number one. Shockmaster is going to be very tough to beat. The school moved games to arenas because they sold out. Yeah, it became a happening back then. It became a huge, huge deal. I had a friend of mine who lived, he's still in Ohio, but I think he was in like Alliance, Ohio, wherever he lived. And he would tell me, like, it's a big deal what was going on there at the time. Hey, Power Spine, have a good night, man. Eric says, I was born in Akron, Ohio. My cousins went to high school with him at St. Vincent St. Mary's. It's amazing how quickly time goes by, isn't it? I can remember him when he was in high school playing in those games and what a big deal everybody was making about it. And now people make fun of him for having, for balding And you look at John Cena, they make fun of his bald spot. It's like, man, I'm telling you, man, life, it just passes by like that. And one day, that will be all of us. So be careful. Be careful of who you mock. Because one day that will be you. Anyway, be well. Stay safe. Thank you all for the big bombs and all the support tonight. Hit that like button on your way out. And I will see you back here live for the Raw post show. A little bit earlier than usual. One more international stream left to go. That'll be on Monday night. Until then, take care, guys.